I specifically focus on that age group, 40 plus, perimenopause, menopause, that it's a time of transformation. I think people tend to think of it as limitation. So I always say to my clients, this is a time for transformation, not limitation. And yes, of course, we face big challenges. There's a lot of things going on, not just with our hormones, but in life in general.
Welcome to Soul-Led Creative Women, a podcast for women passionate about personal growth, seeking bold, brave ways to navigate life's ups and downs. I'm Sam Horton, and in this episode I talk with Alison Bladh. We talk all about creatively using nutrition to experience transformation in menopause. Enjoy. So today I have Alison Bladh with me. Alison is an award-winning registered nutritional therapist and also a beauty therapist. She has dedicated over 30 years to enhancing women's health and wellness with a focus on perimenopause, menopause, and beyond. Her approach blends personalized dietary, health, mindset, and lifestyle strategies to support women navigating the challenges of midlife and menopause. Alison is the creator of the 21-day Reboot and Reset for Women Over 40, an innovative program designed to help women regain their vitality. Alison's career is a testament to her dedication to empowering women to thrive with confidence and elegance during menopause. So welcome, Alison.
Oh, thank you, Samantha. It's lovely to be here today. Thank you for having me.
So today we're talking all about how women over 40 can redefine themselves through health and wellness. So I guess to start, women over 40 have gained all the wisdom of the younger years, but often face significant changes, sometime after 40, whether it's a career plateau or kids are getting older, menopause, lots of changes. So it can be really overwhelming. How can we approach this phase of life in more empowered ways?
Yeah, it's a really great question. And as you say, there's so much that happens, doesn't there, when we get over 40 as women. And I always say, with the clients, because I specifically focus on that age group, 40 plus, perimenopause, menopause, that it's a time of transformation. I think people tend to think of it as limitation. So I always say to my clients, this is a time for transformation, not limitation. And yes, of course, we face big challenges. There's a lot of things going on, not just with our hormones, but in life in general. A lot of women in their mid-40s, they maybe, got a career, they've teenagers at home, they maybe have parents that are elderly that need caring for, and they're looking after everything, and it can be overwhelming, can't it? But I
So
think you really have
stuff.
to redefine this and think of it as a transformative phase of life, because these changes in how we feel also bring new opportunities, um, giving you the chance to do new things, look at things in a different way. But it's all about understanding as well what is going on in your body, because as we come up to 45, that's where perimenopause can start showing itself as the symptoms, and then we gradually go through perimenopause into menopause, which on average is at the age of 51. And there's a lot of things going on in our bodies. So we really need to look at our lives and think, okay, how can I change certain things to deal with this, to feel better? Because you do need to think about, the way you eat, your lifestyle, what you're doing really to help get through this time in your life.
But then I guess reframing it so we're looking at it from a positive angle rather than it being doomsday, right? I mean, the word menopause it's not a fun word, is it?
No, it unfortunately, I mean, there's a bit of a menopause revolution going on, isn't
Yeah.
there, in some
Yeah.
countries, particularly the United Kingdom. It's not like that in many countries in the world. It still isn't spoken about. It's very much, just just isn't spoken about, which it wasn't in the United Kingdom that many years ago.
Mm.
But it's such a shame that it has this negative connotations because it's every single woman in the whole world will go through it.
Mm,
It's a natural phase of life, and
mm,
the changes and the hormonal decline and everything, once you understand that and know that what you can do to feel better, it doesn't have to be a negative experience.
mm.
It's all about transformation and not thinking of it in a negative way, which I appreciate it's not always easy, is it, when you're feeling terrible, to suddenly think, "Oh, I'm gonna be I'm gonna suddenly be all positive."
Mm,
But it 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 doesn't make things any better if you're negative, because negativity has been shown in research to cause, if you're constantly saying, "Oh, this is terrible," it causes stress, causes
mm.
different hormonal releases in the body. So trying to be slightly more positive is better for your overall health.
And so where do you think women should be starting, when they're starting to move into that phase and it's starting to become a bit overwhelming? Where do you start?
Well, I'm a nutritional therapist, so I always look at that. Well, and lifestyle. It's lifestyle medicine that I work with. So the first thing that I would suggest to women is to look at, what am I doing daily? Because it's your daily habits. It's the small things that you do daily that add up to your overall
Mm,
health. So really thinking, being honest with yourself as well and thinking, okay, how is my nutrition? What am I actually eating? Am I eating a lot of processed foods, refined foods, a lot of sugary foods, which, they're not good for your health at any stage of life. But as we come into perimenopause and menopause, sugar
mm,
can be terrible for
mm,
us, and it can really make menopausal symptoms worse, like hot flashes, for example.
mm,
So really kind of going back to basics and
mm,
eating real food would do yourself such a favor. If
mm,
you're only going to do one thing, just getting rid of all the refined, ultra refined processed foods, like the packaged foods that have 10, 20, 30 different ingredients on the back, that half of them we don't even know what they are. They're not what our body wants.
mm,
And we age as women, we just need that. We need to look after ourselves a bit better.
mm,
And when I say eating real food, it doesn't have to be complicated.
mm,
Just buying vegetables, buying, like, if you eat meat, meat or fish or, soya, nuts and seeds, and having that's what you have on your plate. You don't have an ultra processed meal that,
mm,
you have no idea what's in it.
mm,
Because of that, it really helps you manage your weight if you're finding that
mm,
is a problem, which it can be during menopause. It helps with hormonal balance.
mm,
It helps with inflammation. All of these things are what we have to look at during the menopause transition. Because of the decline in estrogen and progesterone, we're more vulnerable
mm,
to certain things. It affects everything. Estrogen is a hormone that is needed for everything in the body, virtually every system. I think a lot of people tend to relate it just to reproduction,
sure.
but it isn't. It's needed for everything. So when that hormone declines, that's why we start experiencing the symptoms.
Mm,
Women are at higher risk of osteoporosis, of cardiovascular disease. Uh, Possibly there's more research needed, but cognitive health.
mhm,
Is there some connection between that and estrogen? So it's all these things that we have to think of, but just taking it, it doesn't have to be overwhelming.
mm.
Thinking about what you eat, eating nutritious whole foods is a brilliant step to
And
start
and
with.
it doesn't have to be all at once though, right? So it's like some simple swaps, like you can do it gradually, you don't have to do it all at once.
Absolutely not. I mean, that's the worst thing you can do, really, because if you think, oh, right, I'm going to overhaul all my
Mm,
nutrition, and it won't be sustainable, and you'll give up, and then you'll think, oh, I can't do this, it's too much. And you'll just go back to eating how you did before. So you could say, okay, this week, all I'm going to do is have one extra portion of vegetables with every meal. It could
Yeah.
be something as simple as that. Even if you don't do it every day, do it twice a week.
Mm.
And, I also appreciate that people are busy. You maybe think, "Oh, I haven't got time to cook in the evenings."
Mm.
Start small. For example, if you tend to have takeaways or processed food, buy a ready cooked chicken from your supermarket.
Mm.
That's a step. Even though it's even better to do it at home, but that's a
Mm.
step in the right direction. Bring that home, have some pre-prepared salad that you can buy in a bag, and have that with it. That
Yeah.
doesn't take any extra time, but it's really more beneficial. Well, it's much more beneficial than eating all this refined, ultra processed foods.
So how much of this battle then is actually really in the mind? And the one thing I was really thinking as you were kind of just describing things, it is this way that we were brought up, I think, or at least our mothers potentially were brought up, where food was really all about whether or not you're fat or thin. It was all about how heavy you are, and if you were an overeater, then you were fat. And food wasn't really seen as something that actually had an impact on anything other than our weight, right? Which is completely untrue. How much do you support women with kind of that battle in terms of the mindset shifts that are required around what food really is and how food really helps us to thrive?
Yeah, that's a big thing, and yes, I work with many clients with that. I think virtually all clients need support in that area because, like you say, it's habits as well, isn't it? It's
Mm.
it's what we've been brought up with,
Mm.
the food environment, how our parents ate.
Mm.
It has a huge reflection on how you eat yourself. Because
Mm.
as a child, you eat what's put in front of you, don't you?
Mm.
But I think a lot of people associate food with exactly as you said, with if I eat too much, I'm going to put weight on,
Yeah. Or
which
even if I eat, fats and things like that, which are actually, very good for you. I'm
okay.
gonna be fat too. I'm gonna put on weight. So yeah, it's a complete shift, I think. And also, I think the other thing that popped in was the concept of reward through food, and how we give ourselves a treat or, we were even as children, you're given a treat through food,
Mm.
which,
Yeah.
potentially doesn't make a lot of sense, does it really?
No, because treat normally is sugar, isn't it? It's something
Mm.
sweet. And that, from a young age, you realize that, that when I do something good, or on Saturdays we're allowed sweets, which, it sets off that habit building as well. And when we eat sugary things that if you want to call them a treat, it it sets off a reward system.
Mm.
It has a hormonal response.
Mm.
And that can become addictive
Mm.
because, if you eat chocolate, it makes you feel good,
Mm.
doesn't it? And initially, you maybe don't feel so good when you've eaten the whole bar afterwards, but
It's not a long-lasting benefit, is it?
no. So it's changing that way of thinking. And when you've done, if you're pleased with yourself, or you think, "Oh, I just want to have a treat,"
Mm.
then do something that maybe isn't food related.
Mm.
You could do something like, go for a nice walk, or call a friend, or tend to distract yourself with something else, because that sugar craving, that
Mm.
sugar uh, treat is really strong. Our
Mhm.
brain loves sugar.
Mm.
Our body likes sugar because it's a very quick source of energy. And your brain will tell you, "Oh, let's have a nice little treat here. What about those chocolate chip biscuits in the cupboard?"
Mm.
And you'll find yourself walking over to the cupboard and eating them. So it's
Mm.
not saying it's easy, but it's really creating different habits that you
Mm.
can do that don't always involve food.
Sure. And I guess, that sort of ties in with, how we can use creativity, in this kind of phase of life as well, by finding new creative outlets and new ways of kind of, treating ourselves, so to speak.
Mm.
How does creativity fit, into wellness? What are your thoughts around the links between creativity and wellness?
Yeah, I mean, creativity is it's creating things, isn't it, to redefine yourself in midlife or menopause or that age, after 40. It's so difficult. And when you look at the word midlife, I mean, what does that actually mean?
Mm,
There's so many when you actually look midlife up, it gives you so many different things of whether it's between 40 and 60. So, but
mm,
it's really over 40 when hormonal things
mm,
start changing. And you can become stuck, you can become overwhelmed at this time. And it's thinking, being creative to make yourself feel better. Maybe doing a few little changes here and there in your daily routine, reinventing your routines
mm,
that you do daily. If we maybe think, oh, well, I don't really have much of a routine, but when you actually look at it, you probably do. In
mm,
the weekdays, you get up, you maybe eat breakfast, help the children, whatever you do, but really thinking, how can I change small things in my daily routine that will make me feel better?
mm.
Whether it's, say, for example, somebody says, well, I don't have time to eat breakfast because I'm so stressed. I've got so much to do. Well, have something in the fridge that you can grab and take to work with you.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like a boiled egg and some nuts. It doesn't have to be like a huge, big, fancy breakfast because that also will stop you from, say you're in a hurry and you stop at Starbucks because you want breakfast and you grab like one of the Frappuccino coffee, by the way, has 13 teaspoons of sugar in it.
Wow.
That isn't a good idea to start your morning with. So it stops you, maybe just grabbing something on the go. So having a snack in the fridge that you can just grab, that solves that problem of not eating breakfast. So I think it's being creative with
Mm,
small little things throughout your day that can make you feel better. If you find that you get stressed at work and you just plow through everything that you've got to do and you find you get anxious and stressed, do some deep breathing.
mm,
Deep breathing is so effective to
mm,
reset your nervous system, and you can do that at your desk. You
mm,
you can literally just sit there and nobody knows what you're doing. You can do some deep breathing, which really helps to reset everything and calm you
mm.
down. So it's being creative, isn't it? It's finding new ways to deal with how you're feeling.
Sure.
Having hobbies as well also is something that I see in a lot of my clients, that they do something that they've never done before.
Yeah.
They start like a creative hobby. It could be anything. Depends what you're interested in, isn't it? From painting lessons to learning a new language or journaling or writing a book, whatever. We're all different, but
Mm,
having creative hobbies is really beneficial for our overall health.
mm. And I guess it's this thing, isn't it, where I think we actually, start to get hungry for, redefining ourselves and to create our own rules, right? Instead of following all the rules that we thought we were supposed to be following, we kind of get to a point where we've had enough, right? So it's actually creating a new set of rules for the next chapter. Yeah, is that kind of the way you see it as well?
Yeah, it makes me laugh when you say it because I totally agree, and
Mm.
I see so many women when we get older that we become it's not that we don't care, that isn't the right, thing to say, but we just don't put up with anything anymore. We become, like, stronger, and we're not afraid to say no.
Mm.
We become more feisty, that's a that's a good word,
Yeah.
that we think, "No, you know what? Why have I been doing this for so many years? Because I actually don't like it. I don't want to do it anymore. I'm not doing it anymore."
Mm,
So I think our boundaries move and we become stronger
mm,
and not afraid of upsetting people. We don't have maybe care as much what people think of us
mm.
anymore. And I think that is great. I think it gives you this kind of like a feeling of empowerment.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, in terms of that reinvention and kind of that empowerment, what does that look like for different women from your experience? What are the sort of milestones or maybe like some examples of, women that you've taken on a journey? What does that look like for women?
Yeah, reinvention, it's really about shedding your old beliefs, isn't it? And maybe old habits and opening yourself up to new possibilities. And it means I work with many different clients that, it's very individual as well why they work with me because they all have different goals.
Hmm.
But seeing how even in a relatively short period of time, like for example with my 21-day reboot, how that can totally, you know, change somebody in the way that they eat, the way that they think. They it gives them new motivation. So they really kind of reinvent how they feel and their life and lifestyle and how they do their habits and everything because they feel great.
Mm.
They see by doing these things, it's like wow, I'm lost the weight. I've never thought I could be this weight anymore. I never thought I could feel this way or have this energy. So that is one of the reasons that motivates them to reinvent many things. And then they go on after that because they feel so much better to really revisiting passions and interests that they maybe
Mm.
had before that they didn't feel that they could do because they were so tired or whatever. So it's really lovely to see. Maybe they buy different clothes because they feel now they
Mm.
feel good about themselves
Mm.
also on the outside and push themselves as well. I think I have
Mm.
a couple of ladies in particular that were lacked in confidence,
Mm.
but we speak about comfort zone and, just pushing yourself a little bit. It doesn't have to be anything huge, but maybe
Mm.
doing things occasionally that you're not that you don't feel that comfortable with. But once you've done them and it's gone well, it makes you feel great. And
Mm.
once you've done these small things and pushed yourself, that kind of leads you on to bigger things. So ladies that have really done this and pushed themselves, you see how their confidence grows.
Mm.
And it's a process, but I do certainly see, how creativity plays a big part when I work with clients in the programs that I do and how they develop throughout the time.
And so what's your journey been like then? Tell us about what's led you to do this work that you're doing today. Like how has it all come together for you?
Yeah, I mean, long story short, I actually, when I was a teenager, had very bad skin. So I suffered from the teenage acne, which, it's hard enough being a teenager, isn't it, without
Mm.
having, acne. And interestingly, at that young age, I thought, what is actually going on here? So it led me to read a lot and, look at how I could treat my skin without just having to take medication. So, and my mother was a professional chef. So, I was very lucky to always be eating amazing, foods. So I changed my nutrition. I really looked at what I was doing and I saw a huge improvement in my skin.
Mhm.
And that triggered my interest for skin hormones. So I trained to become a esthetician, a beauty therapist, particularly working with clients that had hormonal skin issues, because that my interest in that led me towards women perimenopause, menopause, because that can really affect your skin.
Mm.
Very soon came to realize because I'm very I always want to learn things, so I became very interested in how nutrition affects your skin
Mm.
because I saw in clients that I was seeing when they changed their nutrition, there was a huge difference in their skin.
Mm.
So that's when I went back and studied nutritional science to really have that piece as well, and lifestyle medicine. So
Mm.
I'm constantly recreating,
Yeah.
and I think it's that excitement of learning. The nutritional industry and research is changing all the time.
Mm.
What we thought, I mean, what you were saying earlier about, fat and we shouldn't eat fat. That is the era that I grew up in.
Mm.
Whereas now, due to research, we realized that that was actually incorrect.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
need fat. It's the sort of fat we're eating that's so important.
Mm.
So really, reading the research, I spend a lot of time doing that, a lot of updating on everything all the time, really, to move with the nutritional
Mm,
industry as things change, because that knowledge I want to be able to give to my clients, and the programs that I create, I do them. I listen to what my clients want,
mm,
and put that with the latest evidence together to give them the best results that they can get.
And is it, is in each individual different, in terms of the results that they get from something like that? Like, I'm just thinking as you're explaining the skin thing, I would think, I mean, I've got a teenager, so she's sort of, going through a bit of, she doesn't have acne, but she's going through definitely some skin
Mm.
changes. But obviously, I know that refined foods are going to be hugely contributing to breakouts and things like that. But it can't just be about whole foods, it must be that certain foods give you a certain reaction, as an individual. So tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, it's exactly. We're all very individual,
Mhm.
and everybody, you could have sensitivities to foods,
Yeah. Yeah.
that could be causing inflammation in the body. Things like leaky gut,
Mm,
where your lining of your gut uh, leakage out into your circulatory system, which can cause or can manifest as skin issues, acne, inflammation, eczema, etc. So that is a big piece, and it is absolutely very individual. But there's certain things that we know that, like you say, if you cut out
mm,
ultra processed foods, really think about sugar, reduce that as much as possible, work on stress management. They're things really that everybody can do because they're so beneficial.
mm,
But really, when you really want to get like down to the level where you can think, okay, I'm working with this person on a one-to-one. I want to know exactly what's going on in their digestive system. Then, I do testing, and we really look at that. So yeah, we are all individual, absolutely. And we all have different, maybe, intolerances to certain foods, etc. So, and deficiencies maybe in vitamins and minerals, which can affect the skin.
mm. I know that some of your work focuses on, meal planning. How does that look for women, as they go over 40 with families and things? Because I'm assuming that a menopausal woman might need to eat differently than the rest of her family.
Yeah, I totally appreciate if you've got a family, you can't be cooking different meals, can you? Just isn't realistic, and I mean, you're probably exhausted enough as it is without having to do that.
Mm,
But meal planning doesn't have to be complicated. I'm very much into making things easy. And you don't have to, as a menopausal woman, you don't have to eat differently.
mm,
You just have to think about what you're eating, and, eating in balance
mm,
is beneficial for everybody. So this is the way that, your whole family could eat. However, when you're menopausal, you want to be thinking of reducing, the white carbohydrates, so things
mm.
like potatoes, white rice. There's nothing wrong with potatoes. I love potatoes, but you don't need that amount of carbohydrates because of all the hormonal shifts. Unless you're extremely active or an athlete, then obviously it's a different matter. So thinking about how eating in balance. So you have your protein. As women, we don't tend to eat enough protein.
Mm,
Protein is crucial as we age because we lose muscle mass, amongst other things. So roughly a palm size of protein with every meal.
mhm,
So that's about a quarter of your plate. And protein, things like chicken, fish, meat, soya, nuts and seeds, tempeh, if you don't eat meat products. Then really filling up. So half of your plate, vegetables and salads, and, there's a huge array, isn't there, of vegetables and salads and things that you can eat. And then you've got like your starchy vegetables, which things like sweet potatoes, carrots, all the root vegetables. They're fine, but you really want to be filling more, up on things like cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, because starchy vegetables contain a higher amount of sugar. And it's not, I'm not saying that they're bad for you, but you don't want to be eating them as much as you do the other sort of vegetables and
Mm,
salads. And then your healthy fats.
mm,
You want about 1 to 2 tablespoons of healthy fat with every meal. Olive oil is amazing, olives, nuts and seeds, good old-fashioned butter, coconut oil. They're what we call, like, the healthy fats.
mm,
And that's really is eating in balance. So think, you have your piece of protein, you have a half a plate full of vegetables, and you have your healthy fats. If you've got a family with teenagers there, then of course, they want to have maybe some brown rice or potatoes or whatever. But you could just maybe not have that as a menopausal woman. So it's not as if you have to cook differently. It's just really thinking about what you're actually putting on your plate.
and so then, in terms of, some of the symptoms then that women experience when they're going through the menopausal journey, things like fatigue and the weight gain and all those sorts of things. How does your approach address those things for women? Because it's not just about meal planning and, nutritional advice. It's also obviously specific on those symptoms. So tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, again, it's so individual with symptoms. So if we take hot flashes as the first symptom, which is very common,
Mm,
that is a very common symptom for women, and it kind of just creeps up on you as you come into perimenopause. You might experience a few, and it can become terrible because it can happen at night. With night sweats, which can
mhm.
really obviously affect your sleep. Again, I mean, I know I'm always preaching about nutrition, but research based as well, that cutting down on sugar
Mm,
uh, will have a big effect on hot flashes. Alcohol is not the friend.
mm.
Unfortunately, it's not the friend of a menopause woman. It really isn't. And
I'm up to 400 and something odd days alcohol free.
oh, well done.
Yeah.
And
Because it
have you
just
noted
wasn't serving me
no,
at all. It was just sending me backwards.
yeah. And we see that, and I have so many people say to me and friends that I don't know what's happening to me. I can't even drink a glass of wine anymore without waking up in the middle of the night, having hot flushes, and feeling terrible the day
Mm,
after.
mm,
So many people that I know have, like yourself, has just said it's not worth it.
mm-mm,
It really isn't worth it because it affects symptoms like hot flushes, weight gain, because of what happens. And when we lose our estrogen, we have a decline in these hormones. We can't. It affects our metabolism.
mm,
We need estrogen for many, many processes. And with alcohol, we can't metabolize alcohol like we used to.
mm,
So there are reasons behind the way it makes you feel like
mm,
it does. So really cutting down on alcohol, getting rid of sugar, thinking about stimulants. So caffeine,
mm.
for example, is shown to or can make menopausal symptoms worse.
Okay.
So if you like coffee, like we all do, try to, if you can, just cut it out for a couple of weeks and see how it makes you feel. Because there
Mm,
are actually some very good decaf coffees and teas around now. So just try that. So this is what we do on my 21-day reboot.
mm.
And people that are avid coffee, they're not pleased when I tell them that you're not going to drink coffee for the next 21 days, but they do it. And they feel so much better that I've had ladies now that say, "I just don't drink coffee anymore because it's not worth it." And if
Oh,
they
oh,
do
wow.
drink decaf or
Well, I guess you
decaf.
don't know unless you try, right?
Exactly.
Mm,
So that those specific things can have a real effect on menopausal symptoms. And then the big thing, which, I mean, you could talk about for hours, is stress management.
mm,
If you're chronically stressed and suffering from anxiety, it just triggers off. It makes you feel
mm,
terrible, and another big symptom of menopause is brain fog, that
mm,
kind of foggy feeling, not being able to remember things and lack of focus, which can all be connected to chronic stress.
Mm.
So really looking at ways to manage stress is key
And
to get.
what are your top tips for managing stress then as women navigate that?
Yeah, that's a big question because it's, again, I work very individually with clients to get
Okay.
to do what works for them. I mean, if yoga, of course, is brilliant. If you can
Mm.
do yoga, fantastic.
Mm.
But a lot of people think, oh, that it's a stressful thing to say, okay, I want you to start doing yoga every week. They're like, when am I going to do that?
Makes it
So
worse.
it becomes another stressful thing.
Yeah.
Adding things into your daily schedule, such as taking 10-minute break
Mhm.
from, go away from your desk, walk around, or go, if you can go outside, sit outside, and just don't have your phone with you. Just sit there and breathe. It resets your nervous
Mhm.
system, even
Mm.
if you can only do it for 5 minutes.
Mm.
Brilliant for your nervous system.
Mm.
Things like deep breathing that we spoke about, which you can do anywhere,
Mm.
really effective. And I think with stress, you have to be honest with yourself, don't you? Because we're we're very good at just plowing on,
Yeah.
even though you feel terrible. But sitting back, I do what I call a stress audit with my clients, where we sit down. I get them to write down what they find most stressful daily,
Mhm.
and then we solutions to that, whether it's
Mhm.
getting stuck in traffic going to work, or being stressed in the morning because you don't have time for yourself because the children are there. You don't like your boss at work, so you get anxious when you've got to talk to them. I mean, it can be
Yeah.
very small things, but those constantly throughout the day can add up to a lot of stress in the body and a lot of cortisol, which is the
Mm.
stress hormone.
And it's just becoming aware of those triggers, right? As you are navigating your day and building awareness around that. And like we were saying before, rewriting the rules because you don't have to, do it the way that you maybe thought you always had to. You can shake it up a bit. So, in terms of your own self care, then what do your practices look like? How do you look after yourself?
Yeah, I am a great believer in practice what you preach.
Hmm.
So I am busy, like we all are, but I make time every day to go for a short walk. I'm lucky to live near a forest, so I can get there within 5 minutes. So I make time to be out in nature, and I find that is so beneficial for me.
Hmm.
So that I do most days if when I'm working from home. So a 10-minute walk in nature. I'm a nutritionalist, so I am aware of what I eat. I nourish my body with whole foods, delicious whole foods. So I virtually every morning I have a morning routine that I get up and I don't look at my phone
Mm.
until I've actually eaten breakfast. So I have like 20 minutes maybe in the morning where I don't look at, because it's terrible, isn't it? As soon as you wake up, you grab your phone and start looking at emails. It's not a good way to wake up. So I
Mhm.
really have that rule that don't look at your phone, have breakfast first, and then start working. I
Mm.
start the day with a big glass of water before anything else. Then I eat my breakfast, which majority of the time I overnight oats with lots of nuts and seeds because it's easy. It's in the fridge. You can
Mm.
take it out and eat it. So the key things, but movement for me is moving is so key to how I feel. So doing some sort of exercise daily is really important for me.
Excellent. So, for all the women who feel overwhelmed by health and wellness in midlife, what powerful
Mm.
questions would you have them ask themselves today?
Yeah. I think the first question I would say to these ladies is, what small changes can you make today to feel more energized and at ease with yourself? then I would ask yourself, how can I nourish my body in ways that truly support my long-term health, like holistic ways? And then what practice or hobbies or activities uh, that bring me joy that I
Mm.
like,
Mm.
can I integrate more into my daily life?
Love that. Kind of covers all bases, those 3 things, right? Start small, feed your body correctly, bring joy into your life. Love that. So how can people get to know you better, Alison, and get a real feel for the work that you're doing?
Yeah, the best way really to connect with me is through my website, which is Alison Bladh, that's BLADH.com. I'm on virtually all social media platforms. If you look for Alison Bladh, you'll find me on Instagram and all of those things. And on my website, I do have some lots of free downloads. So if you're thinking about, oh, I'd like to maybe eat like that, there's recipes, books there that you can download with shopping lists and everything, really to get you started so you can see, what you should be or how you could be eating. I can send you a link to one of them. You could maybe put that in the show
Yeah,
notes.
yeah, I'll definitely put some links in the show notes. Yeah, absolutely, so people can get those easily. Excellent. Thank you so much for your energy and your time and your wisdom today, Alison. I really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Start reconnecting with your inner creative magic with a powerful 10-minute meditation. This meditation is designed to help you reconnect to yourself, your creativity, and spark your inner wisdom by guiding you to discover your own unique and personal sacred creative space as you tune into your intuition. Please head to samhorton.co/gift.